All right, folks, welcome back to the C Files. I'm working through a couple things here. Um, in this, we're going to start a new series and try to stay with it. I got a book here about that thick, full of a lot of scientific stuff in it. And it is called In the Beginning, Compelling Evidence for Creation and the Flood by Walt Brown, Ph.D. And he's a PhD in mechanical engineering. Is it mechanical engineering? Let me read you his bio. Walt Brown received a PhD in mechanical engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he was a National Science Foundation Fellow, which gives him a lot of credibility. He has taught college courses in physics, mathematics, and computer science. Brown is a retired full colonel, Air Force, West Point graduate, and former Army Ranger and paratrooper. Quite a career, huh? Assignments during his 21 years of the military included director of Bennett Research, Development, and Engineering Laboratories in Albany, New York, tenured associate professor at the U.S. Air Force Academy, and chief of science and technology studies at the Air War College. For most of his life, Walt Brown was an evolutionist. But after many years of study, he became convinced of the scientific validity of creation and a global flood. Since retiring from the military in 1980, Dr. Brown has been the director of the Center of Scientific Creation and has been involved in full-time research, writing, and speaking on origin. So let's jump right on into it. Part one, the scientific case for creation. Drum roll, please. Well, I guess the band went home. Oh well. Part one is a brief summary in outline form of 137 categories of scientific evidence that support a sudden creation and oppose gradual evolution. As figure one to the left shows, categories 1 through 42 relate to the life sciences, 43 through 98 relate generally to the astronomical and physical sciences, and 99 through 137 relate to the earth sciences. I don't know if I can get this on screen for you to see. Oh boy, I'm mangling. There you go. That's what it looks like. Right there. I have to go sideways with it and do half of it for you to actually see it. But that's kind of what it looks like. It says in scientific evidence is consistent with Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The theory of the organic evolution is invalid. The universe, the solar system, the earth, and life were recently created, and Earth has experienced a worldwide flood. So down below, the theory of organic evolution is invalid. It says, and it's kind of, it comes down like not like a syllogism, but species, subspecies, species categories. Organic evolution has never been observed. These are his arguments. The arguments for evolution are outdated and often illogical. And life is so complex that chance processes, even over billions of years, cannot explain its origin. And so you have categories 1 through 16, 17 through 27, 28 through 42. Under the universe, the solar system, the earth, and life were recently created. He has these subcategories. Naturalistic explanations for the evolution of the solar system and universe are unscientific and hopelessly inadequate. Categories 43 to 63. Techniques that argue for an old Earth are either illogical or are based on unreasonable assumptions, and that's category 64 through 73. And then most scientific dating techniques indicate the Earth and solar system and universe are young, category 74 through 98. And then the last category being the Earth has experienced a worldwide flood. He has these subcategories. My head is cut off here. Or my hair. By the way, this is not a wig. Some people have thought that I'm wearing a wig. this is not a wig, folks. This is my real hair. So just before the wig comment shows up. Anyway, here we go. Archaeological evidence indicates that Noah's Ark probably exists. Many of the Earth's previously unexplained features can be explained by cataclysmic flood. Of course, it has the categories on it, 99 through 108 and 109 through 133. And then the seemingly impossible events of a worldwide flood are credible if examined closely, and that goes up to 137. So that was the chart without being able to show it to you. Quotations, references, and notes on pages 42 through 83 provide supportive details for specific conclusions. Usually these details are based on research done by evolutionists who are experts in that particular field. By choosing evolutionists rather than creationists, charges of bias will be avoided. Besides, no testimony is more convincing than that from a hostile witness. Most people find the quotations highlighted in blue type fascinating. For many years, students, teachers, and professors have been unaware of most of this information, especially the broader conclusions that can be reached. Those conclusions are stated in Figure 1 and in the following pages in large. Bold captions. The larger the caption, the broader the conclusion. There is one overall conclusion for the life sciences, one for the astronomical and physical sciences, and one for the earth sciences. Each of these has 3 supporting conclusions for a total of 9. Each conclusion is based upon about a dozen categories of evidence. Please excuse me for a moment. Help my throat. My throat really gets dry. All right. All 137 are summarized in the following pages. Figure 1 shows the relationships of these 3 plus 9 broad conclusions and the 137 categories of evidence. Scientific information cannot be suppressed for long, so it is not surprising to see a growing awareness and excitement concerning this information. Some evidence involves new discoveries. Other evidence discovered long ago has been poorly disseminated. If all this information were openly presented in science classrooms, better education would result. Regardless of your age or education, excuse me, you can learn and help others learn this information about a subject that holds great interest for most people, the subject of origins. And here's the introduction, page 3. Let's see, I'll go for 30 minutes, guys, and then I'll cut it off in 30-minute bites on each one of these. If I'm in the middle of a sentence or a paragraph, I'll try to finish that up. The scientific evidence showing the hand of the creator falls into three major areas. Life sciences, astronomical, and physical sciences, and earth sciences. Generally speaking, the life sciences operate in the biosphere, the atmosphere, oceans, and other surface waters. Astronomical sciences deal with phenomena above the biosphere, and earth sciences deal with phenomena below the biosphere. 3 fascinating objects are depicted on the opposite page, one representing each of these 3 areas of science. And it's just a nice little picture here. It has Saturn, Noah's Ark, and a strain of DNA. Okay, so here we are. Where am I? Okay. Each involves new discoveries which excite laymen and scientists alike. Each object is an amazing reminder of a designer whose attributes are too big, too complex, and too powerful for the mind of man to grasp. Shown in the circular inset at the bottom of figure 2 is the double helix representing, and forgive me if I struggle through these scientific terms, it's deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. Uh, I can read it. I just have a hard time pronouncing certain things. Deoxyrib deoxyribonucleic acid. I thought I'd give you guys something to laugh about me trying to pronounce that. Duplicate copies of this long tape of coded information are coiled up in each of the 100 trillion cells in your body. I can't think that high. That's a big number. 100 trillion cells in your body. You receive 23 segments from your mother and 23 from your father. Thanks, Mom and Dad. DNA contains the unique information that determines what you look like, how much your personality, I'm sorry, let me try this again. Rewind the tape. DNA contains the unique information that determines what you look like, much of your personality, and how every cell in your body is to function throughout your life. And this is why I haven't done videos in a while, folks. This is the best I've been in 2.5 months trying to talk. But I am not going to give up. Here we go. Because I'm just stubborn that way. Um, However, the sickness that I've had for 2.5 months that I've been slowly getting rid of, however stubborn it is, I'm even more stubborn than it. So there you go. All right, now I'm a very stubborn individual. You received 23 segments. We read that. Um, here we go. If the DNA, 46 segments, in one of your cells were uncoiled, connected, and stretched out, you ready for this? It would be about 7 feet long. It would be so thin its details could not be seen, even under an electron microscope. If all this very densely coded information from one cell of one person were written in books, it would fill a library of about 4,000 books. Folks, that's an awful lot of information for natural selection. Mm. Sounds like a designer, a biological computer designer. How's that? If all the DNA in your body were placed in the end, it would stretch out from here to the moon more than 500,000 times. Wow. In book form, that information would completely fill the Grand Canyon more than 75 times. Did you know you were marvelously and wonderfully created? If one set of DNA, one cell's worth, from every person who ever lived were placed in a pile, it would weigh less than an aspirin. Understanding DNA is just one small reason for believing you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. That's what I was referring to earlier as well. See genetic information on page 62 for the above calculations. Well, we'll get to page 62 at some point. Now we're going to talk about astronomical and physical sciences for a moment. Space exploration has brought into our living room some of the marvels of the universe. Few people, however, appreciate just how many, not many, but many of these recent discoveries were not what evolution theory had predicted. The phrase back to the drawing board frequently follows discoveries in space. Saturn, shown on the opposite page over there, which you can't see, has provided many such examples. Many space exploration programs try to learn how the Earth, Moon, and solar system evolved. Ironically, not one of these questions has been answered, and for scientists who start with evolutionary assumptions, many perplexing problems have arisen. For example, after the 20 billion, there's a lot of zeros, moon exploration program, what? Oh, $20 billion, excuse me. For example, after the 20 billion or 20, let's see, I'll tell you what it is. It's 100,000, 100 million, yeah, $20 billion spent on moon exploration, the moon exploration program. No evolutionist can explain with any knowledge and confidence how the moon formed. $20 billion spent to try and explain it from an evolutionary viewpoint, and nada. Zero. Zip. Nothing. Those who try encounter those who try encounter either a barrage of scientific objections or resort to philosophical speculations. Well, what else are you going to do if you're wholly dedicated to materialism? Isn't it ironic that many science teachers and professors uncritically teach outdated and illogical theories in the very subject that should encourage critical thinking? Far too many textbook authors and popular science commentators who influence teachers and students alike do not understand that the heavens declare the glory of God, Psalm 19, verse 1. Now he's going to talk about earth sciences. The center object on the opposite page represents Noah's Ark. This drawing is based on a detailed and convincing description by a man who claimed to have twice walked on the ark in the early 1900s. It looks the same as the ark you'd go see in Kentucky at the Creation Museum area. Um, and I've been there and saw that ark, and I was completely blown away by it. The size of it, the design of it, incredible. His information has been checked in ways he never could have imagined. Every variable detail has supported his story. We must emphasize, however, there is no proof the ark exists, although there are many alleged sightings. We must patiently wait for verifiable discovery of this huge object that is reportedly buried under rock and ice near the 14,000-foot level of rugged Mount Ararat in a remote part of eastern Turkey. It's been a long time, guys. Um, I mean, the entropy will eventually get it, um, even if it's buried under ice. I could preserve it for a while, but uh, my thoughts are it may never be found. The implications of a worldwide flood for the earth sciences, for the theory of evolution, and for mankind in general deserve the serious reflection of every thoughtful person. Earth has many features which scientists with evolutionary presuppositions cannot explain. But these features can be explained by a gigantic flood, the most cataclysmic and literally earth-shaking event the world has ever experienced, which also formed deep ocean trenches, most mountains, and many other amazing features. A detailed and scientific reconstruction of these events now can be made independently of Scripture. This reconstruction, based only on what is seen on Earth today, is explained in part two. The fountains of the great deep on page 84 through 225. If you study both this explanation and the biblical descriptions of the flood, two completely different perspectives, which may be startled by their agreement and the sheer power and violence of that event. Both biblical scholars and scientists have been surprised at the extent to which each perspective illuminates the other. After reading The Foundations of the Great Deep, you will more deeply appreciate what the psalmist meant when he wrote 3,000 years ago, "The waters were standing above the mountains. At thy rebuke they fled. At the sound of thy thunder they hurried away. The mountains rose, the valleys sank down, so the waters may not return to cover the earth." Psalm 104, verses 6 through 8, if you want to look at that. I can go another 10 minutes. Now we're going to get into life sciences. Before considering how life began, we must first understand the term organic evolution. Organic evolution, as theorized, is a naturally occurring beneficial change that produces increasing and inheritable complexity. Increased complexity would be shown if the offspring of one form of life had a different and improved set of vital organs. This is sometimes called the molecules to man theory or macroevolution. Macroevolution, on the other hand, does not involve increasing complexity. It involves only changes in size, shape, color, or minor genetic alterations caused by one or two mutations. Macroevolution requires thousands of just right mutations. Microevolution can be thought of as horizontal change, whereas macroevolution, if it were ever observed, would involve an upward and beneficial change in complexity. Notice that microevolution plus time will not produce macroevolution. Both creationists and evolutionists agree microevolution occurs. Minor change has been observed since history began. But notice how often evolutionists give evidence for microevolution to support macroevolution. It is macroevolution which requires new abilities in increasing complexity that is at the center of the creation-evolution controversy. Therefore, in this book, the term organic evolution will mean macroevolution. Most readers will want to read the accompanying references, quotations, and notes beginning on page 42. We'll get there. All right, got some more time. The theory of organic evolution is invalid. Organic evolution has never been observed. Number one, the law of biogenesis. Spontaneous generation, the emergence of life from non-living matter, has never been observed. All observations have shown that life comes only from life. This has been observed so consistently, it is called the law of biogenesis, that life only comes from life. The theory of evolution conflicts with this scientific law by claiming that life came from non-living matter through natural processes. Somewhere there's a footnote, and I don't know where it is. So I think it's at the end of the chapter. It's A. So let me see if I can find a footnote at the end of the chapter real quick. If I can. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, that's not it. I need chapter 1. There we are. So the footnote says, and yet leading evolutionists are forced to accept some form of spontaneous generation. For example, a former Harvard University professor and Nobel Prize winner in physiology and medicine acknowledged the dilemma. The reasonable view was to believe in spontaneous generation, the only alternative to believe in a single primary act of supernatural creation. There is no third position. George Wald, The Origin of Life, Scientific American, Volume 190, August 1954, page 46. With no rational given, with no rationale given, excuse me, Wald goes on to accept the impossible odds of spontaneous generation rather than creation. One has only to contemplate the magnitude of this task to concede that the spontaneous generation of a living organism is impossible. And yet, we are here. As a result, I believe, of spontaneous generation. Here's another quote. The beginning of the evolutionary process raises a question which is as yet unanswerable. What is the origin of life on this planet? Until fairly recent times, there was a pretty general belief in the occurrence of spontaneous generation. It was supposed that lowly forms of life developed spontaneously from, for example, putrefying meat. But careful experiments, notably those of Pasteur, showed that this conclusion was due to imperfect observation, and it became an accepted doctrine, the law of biogenesis, that life never arises except from life. So far as actual evidence goes, this is still the only possible conclusion. But since it is a conclusion that seems to lead back to some supernatural creative act, it is a conclusion that scientific men find very difficult of acceptance. It carries with it what are felt to be in present mental climate, in the present mental climate, undesirable philosophic implications, and it is opposed to the scientific desire for continuity. It introduces an unaccountable break in the chain of causation and therefore cannot be admitted as part of science unless it is quite impossible to reject it. For that reason, most scientific men prefer to believe that life arose in some way not yet understood from inorganic matter in accordance with the laws of physics and chemistry. And that was J.W.N. Sullivan, The Limitations of Science, publisher, New York, The Viking Press Incorporated, 1933, page 94. All right, we'll do number 2 here. Acquired characteristics. Acquired characteristics cannot be inherited. For example, the long necks of giraffes did not result from their ancestors stretching their necks to reach high leaves, nor can large muscles acquired by a man in a weightlifting program be inherited by his child. However, hostile environments of a few animals and plants sometimes cause their offspring to express various defenses. New genetic traits are not created. Instead, the environment can switch on genetic machinery already present. The marvel is that genetic machinery already exists to handle various contingencies, not that the environment or a need can produce the machinery. And I have just enough time to go back to the next footnote. And this is under acquired characteristics, and it says this. Excuse me. While almost all biologists agree that acquired characteristics cannot be inherited, many unconsciously slip into the belief called the Marxism that the environment can directly and beneficially change egg and sperm cells. On occasion, Darwin did. This desire for a mechanism for macroevolutionary change reflects the insufficiency of presently claimed mechanisms. Only a few biologists try to justify Lamarckism. The minor acquired characteristics they cite have no real significance for any present theory of organic evolution. For example, see Lamarck, Dr. Still, and Plagiarism in Nature, the magazine Nature, volume 337, 2nd of January 1989, pages 102, 101 and 102. So I give references for those of you who are skeptical of what I'm reading. You can look up the references. Genes that were switched, this is a quote, genes that were switched on in the parent to generate the defensive response are also switched on in the offspring, and that is Irkai Hukaja, Bite the Mother, Fight the Daughter, in Nature magazine, volume 401, 2nd of September, 1999, page 23. And finally, to hold it as close to 30 minutes as I can, no lethal exposure of an animal to carnivorous and a plant to a herbivore not only induces a defense, but causes the attacked organisms to produce offspring that are better defended than offspring from unthreatened parents. And that's Anurag A. Agrawal, and that's from Transgenerational Induction of Defenses in Animals and Plants, Nature magazine again, volume 401, 2nd of September, 1999, page 60. And we will hold it there. We're at 32 minutes. So I will come back with more. This will be a fun one to go through. It's going to be educational. So if you want to learn more, and even if you just want to pick up some basic scientific concepts, watch the series. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time here on the C-Files.